Hello, fellow Movie Crusaders, and welcome to another episode of Sean's Movie Crusades. My name is Sean Wasserkrug, and today we're reviewing the latest streaming film, the superhero film from Netflix, Project Power. Now, when I saw this trailer about a month or two back, it definitely opened up some possible doors of a potential of being kind of a really good superhero movie. The premise that this story is following, or at least the rules of the film that it's going with, definitely opened some doors on a potential of being really, really good. I saw the trailer. I thought it had a lot of promise to it. Plus, obviously, with the cast, you got Jamie Foxx, who I love in almost everything he's in. You got Joseph Gordon-Levitt, who I'm also a huge fan of. But the idea of what this story is telling us, and with these two characters, definitely left me more in the excited region of getting ready to see this than more like, oh, I gotta watch this so I can review it for everybody, but more like I can't wait to watch this film. Going into the actual plot of the film, Project Power is about when a pill that gives its users unpredictable superpowers for 5 minutes hits the streets of New Orleans. A teenage dealer, a local cop must team up with an ex-soldier to take down the group responsible for its creation. Yes, that's the big premise is what if you could take a pill that could give you a superpower for 5 minutes? You don't know what that superpower is when you take the pill, or you could have side effects. There's side effects where some people take it and they just blow up. Some people become bulletproof. Some people become invisible. Some people become super fast, super strong. Other things. Like we see in the film, the possibilities are endless. And because of that potential, it left a very big door open of what cool, exciting things we could potentially see with this film. Like I said, with Joseph Gordon-Levitt and Jamie Foxx leading the way. I was really, really excited for this. Now, let's get the good stuff out of the way. First things first, it looks great. It's shot very, very well. The visuals look great throughout. Yes, it is in New Orleans, and they make sure you know that it is in New Orleans. New Orleans Saints fans are going to love this movie. I swear to God, if I had to hear who dat however many more times, there's one scene where they just keep saying it. I'm just like, please change the channel. I know I live in Louisiana. I am not a Saints fan. Obviously, go Cowboys. Joseph Gordon-Levitt wears a Saints jersey through most of the entire film. They go out of their way to make sure that the New Orleans Saints are represented in this film. You can have a New Orleans movie without the Saints in it. Just letting you know, Lovebirds did it earlier this year, and they did a great job of it. But anyway, I'm just taking the NFL biasness out of it. But it looks great. The visuals of the superpowers, depending on what powers you have in the movie, all look great. There's one particular fight scene near the end of the film with a certain character who has this one ability that I actually thought was shot really, really well, and I wanted to see more of it, but obviously it wasn't a main factor in the film. There's a chase scene at the end of the movie that was also shot really well with an invisible person or a camouflage character. I thought that was shot really well. The one that everyone sees in the trailers of the fire guy, that actually looked really good as well. The visual cinematography of the film is incredibly well done. And the cast. Joseph Gordon-Levitt, he does a really solid job in the playing. His character name is Frank. He's, like I said, he's the local cop. He is basically buying these power drugs off of Robin, played by Dominique Fishback, so that way he can stay on point against all of these people who are taking this drug in New Orleans. So that way he can fight back on equal playing ground with these people. And then, of course, Art is played by Jamie Foxx. He's the ex-soldier who has a backstory that's directed towards these pills. And they all come together. The standout for me obviously goes to Dominique Fishback as Robin. I didn't really know her from much of anything else outside of this. I thought she actually did a really stellar job. I thought she stood her ground really well with Joseph Gordon-Levitt and Jamie Foxx throughout the film. She definitely draws you in with her character. They have her rap during it, and her raps are actually really well done throughout. She plays it pretty well. And she's kind of the the middleman of these two characters is you have Joseph Gordon-Levitt's character, Frank, who's taking the powers and who's a cop. And then, of course, you got Art, who's an ex-soldier who has a connection to these powers. And she's like the dealer, but she refuses to take the drug, which I was kind of hoping at one point we would see her take the drug. Spoiler, she doesn't. But she's the one that kind of is around all the craziness, even though she does sell the drug. But she's kind of the regular person amongst all the crazinesses. And I think Dominic Fishback does a great job, and I'm actually looking forward to seeing what she does in the future. Joseph Gordon-Levitt's character gets a lot of potential backstory and potential stories that could lead to something into the film. But then once Jamie Foxx's character does come in, Joseph Gordon-Levitt's character does take a very, very big backseat to the point where we go 20 plus minutes without seeing him, and we almost kind of forget his story, which sucks because I felt like Joseph Gordon-Levitt's character was really intriguing. I liked his character. He's a likable character. In general, he's got kind of a Clint Eastwood vibe, which you will definitely see that in the film. But as soon as Jamie Foxx's character shows up, his character takes a big backseat up and basically up until the third act when they come together. Jamie Foxx is Jamie Foxx. If you like Jamie Foxx, you're gonna like him in this. If you don't like Jamie Foxx, you're not gonna like him in this. That's pretty much the ebb and flow of Jamie Foxx in this film. The main drawback when it comes to this movie, because like I said, it looks great. The action sequences that we do get are solid. The superhero powers are solid. The performances are solid. The big drawback is the writing. The script is not that strong. There's a lot of open-ended questions. There's a lot of storylines that are blooming that ultimately fall, flat, or they just don't go back to it. There's one big storyline with corruption and the police and these men in black and all this kind of stuff, and it just kind of goes nowhere. It ends up being like this whole big corporation as the villains, and it falls flat. You're following the whole movie up to a point as the main villain being Biggie, played by Rodrigo Santoro. Many people know him as from 300. I was excited to see him in this movie, but his character just ended up amounting to nothing. And the main villain that we end up getting at the end of the film is Gardner, played by Amy Landecker, and she's just a corporate person, and it just, once again, falls flat. It's not anything super exciting. It's not anything that we haven't seen 1,000 times before. It's just the storylines left a lot to be desired, especially with the premise that we got. There was just so much potential to do so much with this film and to do all these kinds of different things, to be unique and different. And it's unique in terms of the pill, but ultimately it's a very paint by numbers film that we have seen many, many times before, with a fresh coat of paint on it, with the whole 5 minutes of being a superhero pill. But ultimately, it doesn't really do anything new or exciting that we haven't seen 1,000 times before, which maybe is probably why it's a Netflix film and not something that was going to be released in theaters. Ultimately, though, going to overall feelings of the film, it's fine. For a Netflix movie, it's going to be one of the more better ones. Now, if it had been a normal year in movies where we had all the normal big releases coming out and everything like that, this is probably something that would be very, very small blimp on the radar. But with it in the current state that we are in right now, with not a whole lot of movies coming out, especially any of the big dogs, this one's going to be more on the higher side of something to check out because of the cast and the superhero aspect of it. Just don't go in expecting to be blown away by the story, because it's very lackluster, and like I said, it's very paint by numbers, and there's like a lot of potential of a story. It just doesn't happen. So going to overall, if the premise is intriguing to you, definitely check it out. If you like Joseph Gordon-Levitt, Jamie Foxx, or if you guys know Dominic Fishback outside of this film, definitely check her out, because she's definitely the highlight of the film outside of those two. Obviously, it's a Netflix film. If you got nothing to watch on Netflix, check it out. So yeah, recommendations, check it out. Just don't expect to be blown away by it. It was a fun experience. I wasn't bored. I wasn't checking my clock, waiting to see how much longer there was left. It's just, you're watching it, and it's kind of like popcorn. It's a popcorn flick. You're expecting there to be a lot more substance. You expect it to be full by the end of it, but you just kind of felt empty by the end of the film overall. And the ending is kind of falls flat as well. And like I said, some of the storyline aspects are there, but they're not dug in deep enough for it to really matter or care towards the outcomes of the characters throughout the rest of the film, because they ultimately aren't given enough time to really grab that. So going to my overall score, like I said, visually, action wise, cast wise, I think it does a very good job there. So I'm going to give it a 6.5 out of 10, which is a solid film. It's not something that I'd probably ever go back and rewatch, but it's definitely something that I'm glad I checked it out. I'm not going to say don't see it, but just don't be expecting to think it's one of your favorite films of the year. Nothing like Defy Bloods or Hamilton or anything like that. So I hope you guys enjoyed this review. If you guys did, go ahead and hit that like button. If you guys feel like this review is worth sharing, go ahead and hit that share button. But most importantly, don't forget to hit the subscribe button to the channel so you guys stay up to date with all the latest videos that pop up in Sean's Movie Crusades. And of course, don't forget to follow us on all the social media outlets you see below. Coming up next, there's 2 movies coming out here in the next 2 weeks that are considered big name films on Disney Plus. Next week we got was it Ivan the Great? It's an ape movie. I'm blanking on it. Ivan, the one and only Ivan, or something like that. I apologize. The picture's gonna pop up here. You'll see the right title. I don't have it in front of me, but you'll know it. That pops up on Disney Plus next week. And then the week after that, finally, New Mutants. Maybe. Who knows? Right now, it looks like it's locked in. Maybe we'll finally get to see that almost 2 years after it's supposed to have been released. Those are the next 2 big films, with Tenet being probably the week after that, potentially. So be on the lookout for those reviews if those films do come out. I know the Ivan movie will be coming out 100%. The other 2, we'll wait and see. But until next time, in case I don't see you, good morning, good afternoon, and good night, Movie Crusaders.